Anyways, here we are. I do have some announcements real quick I'm going to make. So I'm not going to release the Vult-r episode. This one right here, Endless Discussions, is the Vult-r 22 real or fake. I'm not going to release it. After going back, rewatching it, and editing it, I'm like, ugh. I don't feel comfortable with this video. And it's not really the direction I want to take SiinTV, TV, so out of respect to Vult-r, the original staff, other developers and their communities and the entire EO community, I'm just going to go ahead and scrap this episode. It was a fun episode to make, but it got too deep, and it was a little uncomfortable after watching it. So that's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah. No, I definitely can understand why you would prefer to not put it up. Honestly.
It was uncomfortable for me to go back and rewatch it, and I'm sure it's going to make others uncomfortable, and I don't want to do that, so.
Right.
Anyway, I added this poll into the chat, and you guys have been putting in some interesting votes. But I got this question right here, as you can see on the bottom of the screen, from the Gim Gamer, and everybody please be respectful to the Gim Gamer. He asked, do you think maybe with a bigger update and a launch to Steam, the community would come back? And I thought about that answer for a little bit. And I was like, I don't really know how to reply to this in a comment. There's a lot of details that go into it, and I kind of want to pick everybody's brain today and see what they think. My general answer is no. I don't think that this would be a thing, for many reasons. But I want to get some other people's opinions first before I share my opinion. Do you have any opinions on this, Wish?
Well, I think if it was on Steam, my speculation, my theory as to what would happen is it would get some initial traction, maybe some new faces, maybe like a little bit of an increase in the community. But I feel like if you didn't grow up with it, it's probably one of those games that you're gonna lose interest really fast if it's something new to you.
Right.
I don't feel like at least when it comes to specifically EO Clone, it's kind of hard to, I think it would be hard to keep somebody around. I don't think there's enough there to keep someone engaged. Now that's just my opinion on it. I don't know. When it comes to the other servers or like other projects that we have heard of, I think it's a different story. I think there's a lot more potential for maintaining or retaining an audience, a new audience, when it comes to servers and these other projects that have come out.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I feel about it.
I thought about this one for a bit, and I remember when I first came back to EO, and I was like, man, what's a way to bring this back into the light? And I kind of had the idea with Steam for a little bit too, but I thought about it more as I was playing. I was like, well, you kind of need the permission of the original developers first off.
Yeah.
You're gonna need Vult-r's approval, and I honestly don't think that with EO's track record of updates, I don't know if the game would even get greenlit approved by Steam. That's just me trying to look at it through that perspective. I don't know how well the community would mix with the Steam community. I don't think it would be a good mix. Now, I have seen, the reason why I put Game Jolt up on Vote is because I have seen at one point in time, and I've been looking for it, trying to track it down again to see if I can find it. But there's a EO game. I don't know if it's a server or if it's just some sort of single player game that they've made, but it is 100% EO. I don't remember what it was called or what it had in it. I never downloaded it because I didn't trust it. I didn't know who it was. But I think the way how it's being handled right now is probably the best step for Endless Online and its community. I just don't think it would go well on Steam. I also don't think there's really a point to put it on Steam, to be honest, if I'm just being completely honest. But I do think it is an interesting idea if it was on Steam. it makes me wonder what would happen.
Yeah. I will add that there is potential for how I feel to change because there have been updates happening to main clone as well as we know, client updates such as the deep patch. And I do think that with Vult-r's blessing, if that issue is, you know, if it's not an issue essentially, then there is potential. Right now, in its current state, I don't think so. But I feel like if updates continue and things change, that there's potential for an audience to be retained. There's potential for a new audience to be obtained.
Hmm. So you're thinking that if say like EOs continue to get updates today like it has been, that there's potential that maybe it could be greenlit on Steam?
Yeah. Right now, in its current state, I don't feel like putting it on Steam would make too much of a difference, but there's potential. There's potential.
I will say this: if it was Endless Online, it would have to be an actual official Endless Online server. It cannot be.
Yeah.
It definitely cannot be like something like Clone or other, unless they are their own things and they're not using EO clients, or if they're getting the approval from Vult-r, because I believe with Steam you're gonna need to have like an actual dedicated staff that's going to keep an eye on the community.
Yes.
And that's kind of sometimes a big issue, especially like with Clone. I think that if it is going to be on Steam, it has to be an official EO server where someone's going to have to take the responsibility to actually moderate this community. And they're going to have to take responsibility for it because, you know, Steam will pay attention to that stuff. And if a community gets out of control, then Steam can always just pull it down. They can pull the plug.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. That's probably, besides actual updates to the game itself being needed, in my opinion, I think the other really important thing is proper moderation. I mean, right now, I would say it's, you know, there's account selling and gold selling and stuff going on for like real money.
Mm-hmm.
And that might be seen as a bit strange by people coming in from Steam, you know.
Yeah, it would, to them, people from Steam would think would be it's kind of shady, if I had to be honest. So like I honestly think like indie servers like Clone and all these other servers, like if they were to be on there definitely have to probably be, I don't know, I really don't know how that would work, because right now it's kind of confusing to figure that out with all these different servers. I think it would just have to be an official EO server only that gets on Steam. But I still think there needs to be a way to promote these other servers, you know, because there are other servers like, you know, like, for example, we played BU, we played Endless Online Plus, we played on Trippy's server, we played on, we were testing out Zenith Online, and there's a lot of great developers out there, a lot of really talented people creating these games and these servers, and I gotta be honest, like, being on some of these communities has been a joy. It's been a real privilege to be there.
Yeah.
So it makes me worry if if EO was to go to Steam, what would that do to these other servers and their communities? Like, you know, there'd be this weird divide. There'd be a Steam community, and then there would be like an actual like OG EO community.
That is true.
And that kind of worries me a little bit. It makes me wonder, like, it's kind of like, for example, like in Minecraft, you know how, like, you've got the Java people, and then you've got the Bedrock people. That's two different communities, completely, and there's a divide. And I fear something like that for EO if it was to be put on Steam. Anyways,
Yeah.
I see that Charles is here. How you doing, buddy? You doing okay?
No.
Oh. You've been listening in on this conversation a little bit, and I mean, I know you haven't played a whole lot of EO, but kind of taking your experience with Steam, what you know about Steam, and then what you kind of know about Endless Online. Do you have any take on this?
I would definitely agree that part of the problem would be that you would have two separate communities that would be like the newer community kind of coming in, not really knowing what the game is about. Like you'd have some folks that maybe used to play games who would probably enjoy the nostalgic feel that it gives. But like just in general through Steam, you would probably want like in a way, it would almost be like my big worry would be that it would start incorporating a money system, just because obviously that's kind of what Steam Greenlight is for. But
Right.
the problem is, I think with Endless Online, like again, kind of its like the architecture of the game and how like how you have to design things, now you have to set things up. Uh, it doesn't really lend well to being able to really do anything like that. Incorporating an entirely new community, you'd probably have people that would come in and out. I think you could slowly build it up, like just for the sake of people that would come in and find it curious and be like, okay, like here's like something that you can just kind of walk around, explore. There's plenty of things to kind of to do if you're a new player. Like for goodness sake, we looked at it and there's what, like 600 something maps currently in EO.
Mm-hmm. How many maps are there in EO right now?
I like whenever I was looking at it, I think it was something like 665 or something. Like there's over 600. I know that much.
It looks like for base EO, it goes up to 283 looking at my file.
Oh, really? Just 283? Huh. Okay, then I guess the thingy that I was looking at was a special one.
You might have been looking at BU maps, which from what I'm looking at go to 751.
But
Maybe.
yeah, so that's kind of, I think, the thing is that if there would be more gameplay, you would obviously draw in a few more people at least from that alone. But I think kind of the lack of an end goal would probably drive some people off. Sort of the like weapons being about the same, like in terms of damage wise, and where some of the stuff isn't quite clearly explained. Like some people would like that, but a lot of people I feel like would turn away from it.
Right.
Especially nowadays with how games are.
And another thing that you kind of when you brought up weapons, that's another great point. Is that currently, like I said, there is no official EO server, but when there was, and we're kind of going based off of clone as well. It's not balanced. It's really not balanced at all, and there's a lot of issues with that. I think that if it was on Steam, it would probably get a lot of bad reviews on Steam because of the bad balancing issues, and
Yeah.
that would probably cause a rift between the community, in my opinion. Let's see here from Thomas Couch here. The thing about EO maps, though, there's hundreds of maps, but there's not enough content within those maps. Only 30 maps have actual drops as use. That is, really? Is it only 30 maps have actual drops? Interesting. I never really paid attention to the number of maps that... Yeah, and that is the thing, too, is, like, EO doesn't really have, like, content. It's just, like, do a quest, do this, bada bing, bada boo, you're done.
Yeah.
And I think that, for, like, example, like, I have seen quests being, that are really well done. That's one thing I'll definitely give Bones Underground credit for, is when I played their quests, I got sucked into them because of how well done they were.
Yeah.
But when you look at, you know, these kinds of quests here on EO, it's like, okay, I just got this repeatable quest that's just going to keep giving me experience over and over and over again. It doesn't really keep pulling you back in, you know?
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
And like I said, too, there has been the lack of updates. And when I say lack of updates, I mean, like, content. Like, yeah, there's these plugins. There's these new, not plugins, but patches and stuff. But not really anything that's, like, game changer. We did get the Elite Dragon and some new armor and stuff, but that's all stuff that it's coming from Clone. It's not official EO. The game's been set on pause for years. Anyways, I'm going to pass the mic to whoever wants to continue. Hang on real quick. Thomas did say something else here. If they would update the client, revamp the UI, and change the weapons output, there are structural issues within the crafting also. But if you think Octos, Drags, Ants, Sailors, Swamps, Vines, Timbas, Ancient Race, and all those things, I've been a BU player since version 6 or so. It is very fleshed out. Yeah, I would agree that it is very fleshed out. But, and also, anyways, does anybody got anything they want to piggyback off of?
It's a little unrelated, but apparently, even though the maps go up to whatever I said, 200 and something, there's actually not even that many in the actual game, because I selected all the map files and there's like 100 something.
Interesting.
That's just kind of, yeah, that is interesting. Okay, it goes up to 282, but if you select all the files in the folder, it's only 178.
Interesting.
Interesting numbering scheme, I suppose.
I mean, I really don't know what else to say about, you know, this other than, like, it would definitely need approval from Vult-r. It would have to be, there'd have to be a team who updates it.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you were to put it on Steam, yeah, there would have to be a lot more like consistent updates.
Real quick here, Trippy says they skipped a few of the maps for whatever odd reason. Probably left room to add onto existing maps to be in, let's see, in new. Okay, putting in numerical order. Yeah, I don't really know. Like I said, there would have to be a lot of changes. Like, there needs to be a team that's going to be, like, actually dedicated to, like, keep adding content, keep adding quests, keep readjusting and rebalancing everything. A team that's going to be dedicated to creating more maps, new textures, all kinds. There's a lot that's going to have to go into it. Like, way too much that's going to be going into it. Like, you would have to and also with Steam, there would need to be more. You would have to be more transparent with updates, because Steam wants you to be transparent with your updates. I see what most developers do on Steam these days is they actually create a roadmap for their games. And when you go and you look at updates on these servers, there really isn't like a roadmap to follow. I do see some people who had change logs, but yeah, Steam will. That's the big thing about keeping a Steam community going, is if you have updates that you're consistently promoting and pushing out. And we don't get that in this community, and that is one of the big issues if it was to be put on Steam. Now, I can see something like Game Jolt actually being somewhat beneficial. However, I can also see people being kind of skeptical about downloading some sort of EO client from any user who created it, you know, on Game Jolt. It does seem very suspect.
Yeah.
But what would you do, Charles? Like, if you say you were Vult-r and you had thought about maybe putting EO on Steam, how would you go about it? Like, what were some of the changes that you would try to implement?
First of all, build a wall.
Well, let's see here.
Second of all,
Oh, go ahead.
I really, I'm not sure. Again, I'm not a game like developer. I couldn't profess to know what
Mhm.
what would be done in order to improve and obviously something that I didn't make.
Mhm.
But I mean, it's just kind of like we said, is like you would almost need to have more content, more I think dedicated quests, because some people are going to want a storyline. Like EO is obviously full of side quests, full of things that you can go and you can discover yourself, and I think that's part of the draw to it. But at the same time, to be engaging enough, say you could put it on Steam for free, nobody could really complain. But I feel like it definitely wouldn't get as much attention nowadays.
Yeah. Oh, there's Wired Rabbit.
Especially,
Sorry,
oh,
go ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, especially with games that you had back around the time that Endless Online was being developed. Like, say, MapleStory is kind of a bad example, just because it is one of those that you have to pay for cosmetics. It's free for the most part, but then you do have special things that you have to pay for, upgrades or this or that. But that was made around the same time that EO was, maybe a little later, maybe a little earlier. But it was kind of a fully fleshed out game. Like a lot of things, it has the same sort of thing going for it, where most of it's just running around. You can find some random quests to do this and that, but it's kind of survived because of an overarching story, and at least a draw to sort of be invested in what you're doing.
Right. Wired Rabbit, real quick. He said, current state EO would probably get mixed reviews and mostly ignored by the general public. Yeah, it would, because honestly, most people who are in the community nowadays are because of they're dedicated people or people who are returning based off nostalgia. I also had an idea. I thought about this too while you were talking, Charles. Something that actually I didn't really think about until just now. EO is a very easy hackable game. Like, there are a lot of hacks, bots, all types of stuff, scripts, programs that are being made to create these these exploits. And that's kind of a weird thing to want to put on Steam, is having a game that could be easily hacked into and create these exploits. Now, I can understand with certain games, maybe you can make the game easily moddable and have a modded community, but it would have to be controlled in a way to where it's not dangerous to the user who downloads.
Mm-hmm.
That's a risky one too when it comes to EO.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was something I was just now thinking about. Is how easy it is to actually hack the game. It's so easy to do.
I think the kind of changes that I personally would think would be necessary to make Endless Online a lot more interesting, at least from a game development perspective, is that Endless Online has always been presented as a more socially oriented game, with the option to go out and fight monsters, as opposed to maybe some other MMOs where fighting monsters and leveling up is the main goal. But Endless Online has kind of always had that element to it where it's more socially oriented. And so I think that that's probably one of the strengths that should be leaned into to more flesh out the game to make it more appealing. So things that would probably add to that are mini games. So like in Bones Underground, you have things like Capture the Flag, just group activities that people can do with each other, such as Arena, or BU actually is pretty decent when it comes to that area, because you also have Drop Dead. Just more things that the community can do together. I think another thing is like events, like regular events. And again, I'm using the BU as an example, but you have the lottery that happens, and the reason that matters is it's because it's a predictable event that is scheduled. People know about it in advance, and everybody gets together to go participate. And that's in addition to, of course, holiday events. Which thankfully there are a couple of holiday events that are featured in Main Clone right now. I personally would think that more would be a better idea. I feel like more would be required.
Yeah.
If I had a server, or if I had something like Endless Online, I would probably switch things up every month. Like, there's like something new to do each month. Like maybe there's a new craftable, maybe there's a monthly exclusive, things to do. Maybe there's exclusive maps that are open up for a certain period of time, just so that things are changing and shifting. So that those kinds of things. What was that?
I'm listening. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. So those kinds of things I think would tackle the social arena more. As far as mechanics go, feel free if anybody wants to disagree with what I'm going to say. You know, this is just how I feel. I don't feel like things are, I feel like areas are not balanced quite. It feels like a certain level isn't quite in mind oftentimes when a map is added. I love that you can go essentially anywhere you want. I would prefer, personally, I would rather not have a level. I'd like to go where I want to go, even if I get like decimated and just destroyed by a high level monster. I enjoy that freedom of exploring, and like if you're clever enough, you can like navigate and get to areas that you normally wouldn't be able to get to. I think there needs to be more of like a linear structure. So maybe like a main story quest, maybe. And then kind of have zones that have a specific level in mind, you know, kind of crunch those numbers and be like, oh, this person should, with these monsters and this experience and with this attack damage that they should have around this time, they should be in this area for about this long. You know, kind of calculate and actually like take into consideration how long it'll take people to level up in what areas, how you can naturally move them from one zone to another, and how that next zone can complement the level that they're at in that area. Quests also would help with that in giving experience and hinting to the player where they should move along to next, so that they would like naturally know where to go. I do think that while there is some degree of direction in something like EO Clone, I definitely think that it's missing more direction. It's it's a little too open-ended sometimes.
Yeah.
I wouldn't prefer it to tell you, hey, go here and nowhere else. I would just rather it be like, hey, this place would be a good idea for you to go to next.
Right. Real quick, I'm gonna read some comments here. Thomas was responding saying, I'm not sure if I agree with that. If they released it for free on Steam, it would draw so many people to the simplicity of it. And then Wild Rabbit responds, says, there are plenty of comparable MMOs on Steam, and if you just log on and wander around, they're for the most part empty. Another thing to consider, the game's population has never been high. What do you think is the limit of the game's engine before the server tick rate starts to buckle? Back in EOS Prime, it lagged like a mofo, and he's right, because it did. And that is something I was thinking about before he actually made that comment, is back in EOS Prime time, the game just lagged, it chugged, and you would get kicked off constantly. So another thing they would have to fix would be a spike in activity. They would have to create channels. So say like you're like, okay, well I want to play. Well, channel 1's got a ton of players on it. It's going to be crowded. So you would give the player different channels to go on to deal with server spikes or just really highly
Yeah.
populated areas. Also, another thing, I'm not sure, and anybody can feel free to chime in and correct me if I'm completely wrong here. Please do. I don't know if the original base client, like say if you were to make a server, you know what you get. I don't know if there is how they deal with security issues. So say like if a user forgets their account, their password, or how they properly store a user's account and password, or dealing with private PMs and stuff like that. Like, I don't know how well thought out the security is on these engines at the moment.
Yeah.
That's another thing that I think Steam would be concerned about is security issues. If the game's easy to hack, then there's already a security issue. Anyone can easily like hack someone's account. I mean, we've seen it before with all these old EO hacks that came out in the early days. It was easy to go on a website somewhere and download some sort of hack of thing for the client, and you'd either get jailed or next thing you know, someone's account was stolen. So that's another thing I worry about, because there's also a lot of kids today who play on Steam, and they could see this game. You know, their parents could probably see this game and think that, oh, it's a cute looking game, download it. And I'm not gonna lie, the community in EO is not exactly the friendliest community sometimes with their words. And that also is kind of a worry. Like the community has kind of grown to its age where it's at now, and not really a whole lot of kids. I don't think there are really any kids who play, to my knowledge. But that's also a concern.
Yeah.
Let's see here from Chippy. There's no actual way to get someone's account without info without having access to the database.
You know, that does remind me, kind of going back to an earlier point, that if account selling is as rampant as it is right now, I have known people who have had their accounts stolen this way. Because you kind of have to trust the person you're giving the password and information to in order to exchange it for money. And I know there's a common practice called middlemaning, where you grab somebody in the community who's like upstanding, you know, they're known to be trustworthy, and then the two people, the seller and the buyer, will go to them and then exchange information. But I'm just bringing it back to say that that's not really a good thing. That's I don't know, that an account can get stolen in that way. Like the core game does not really support something like that to prevent like disaster like that happening. It's all a game of trust and just a gamble.
I mean, you have that stuff in most of like your free old school games, though. Like again, you
Yeah.
had stuff like that even going on in MapleStory, which again, like I said, is a sort of similar example to EO in a way.
Yeah, I would say the one difference though is that EO doesn't seem to, or it currently doesn't seem to be moderated. Like as far as I have seen, like staff they don't seem to tell people, hey, don't do that. I believe in MapleStory it was bannable.
Real quick here, just gonna read the comments here from Trippy. Most people that were quote-unquote hacked were asked to go to the website and use their game account info, and that's how people would steal accounts. That is true, and that is, you know, user error on their part. They made the choice to go do that. From Wired Rabbit, I don't think Steam would care about the game's security unless it saw something serious actually happen. Then back to Trippy, he said, people would go to websites thinking that they would get a 1 mil gold, and that they were really giving someone their info by entering it all on a website. Even owning a server, you cannot see or change someone's password to their account. So Well, that is an issue, though. I mean, things like that could still exist, and it's a security thing. Like, I especially on Steam where there's kids playing, it could be easy for a kid to get their account stolen. But, that's really all I can think of, unless anybody else has got some ideas as to why it's a yes or no for Steam. Like, I really don't know what to think. Like I said, it would need a dedicated team. It would need approval from Vult-r. It would have to be its own official thing. It would have to be updated. It would have to be more modern, fixed,
more balanced.
Yeah, more balanced. There needs to be more content within the game.
Yeah.
There's a lot to consider when it comes to adding a game on Steam. I mean, it probably would, like, if he was just to release it as it is now, I can see some of the original community coming back to it, but there would probably be a lot of negative reviews from others saying, like, what is this? Like, why is this on here if it's not being updated at all?
Right. I will say that when it comes to like the project that Noel has piecemealed to us, we know this a little bit about it. Something like that, I think, actually might succeed on something like Steam. They're building now. I will say, information. I don't have a lot of information, but I do know that they're building what they're building from the ground up. It's essentially an endless online like game, or is a continuation of endless online, something of that nature. And that is actually something I genuinely am looking forward to when it is released to the public, because I do actually think if there was ever any potential for us to get a new audience, that will be it. But I will say that going over or thinking about Sin's point about how the community is right now and how it might be perceived by newer people hopping in, there is a little worry there. I I hope they don't conflict, because yeah. The
Let's
EO
see here.
community tends to be a little on the spicy side.
Yeah. From Wired Rabbit here, it says, I believe EO could have a place on Steam. Worst games are live there, but I think unless it was smooth out, it would likely be a net negative. Yeah. I just don't see it being a good thing for EO at the moment. There is a lot of interesting stuff coming out of the woodworks. Some interesting things coming from all these developers that I'm very excited to see. There's a lot of potential that's growing right now for EO and its community. I just don't think we're there yet. We're taking baby steps, and whether or not this ever sees Steam or doesn't, I think what's most important is that we just stick together as a community and try to do what we can to help improve things. And who knows what'll happen one day. It may not be on Steam. The main thing is we've got each other to keep the games going.
That is true.
But that's really all I got to say about today's topic. I really don't have much more to say. This can be a short episode today for all I care. I think we pretty much kind of covered everything. I think if anybody else has got something they want to drop right now before I end it, please feel free to hop in right now and tell me, and go for it. If not, I think this pretty much wraps things up.
Yeah, I feel like I said all I needed to say. My perspective is more from a game developer perspective and what I would change before I would feel comfortable releasing a game like EO.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Anything you want to add in there, Fox, before we... Or Charles, I'm calling you Fox because I've been writing the EO Adventures 4 script this whole time.
No, I think pretty much everything's been covered.
Oh, from Moon. She says, oh, I missed. Oh, well, you can go back and rewatch it, Moon, if you want. Oh, wait, hold on. Why Rabbit says he's got something. Yeah, you could just hop in the voice chat real quick if you want. If you want to, Wired Rabbit. Your character is still enabled. Like, you could technically jump in and your character will hop on screen.
He'll just teleport on screen.
Let's
Just
see here.
manifest.
from Trippy. Off topic, I just want everyone to know that Kumana Jimmy is a noob. Hope everyone has a good day.
Poor Kamada.
Poor Kumana. From Wired Rabbit here. Follow the Wired Rabbit on social media. Thanks for shamelessly plugging yourself. I'm gonna do that next time on your stream, buddy. Whenever you stream, I'm like, hey, follow Siin TV on every social media. This is Kumada right here. He says, "Brah, no, you're the nub." And then from Wired Rabbit, nah, I'm just being silly. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate everybody for joining. This is a short episode today, short and sweet, to the point. Thank you to the Gim Gamer for offering this really interesting question. It just really stood out to me. And if you guys have any questions and you want your questions to appear on Endless Discussion, please leave a question for us down below in the comments section, and we will we'll try to cover it on next episode. This is probably what I want to do for Endless Discussion now, is just leave comments down below, and we'll pick the best question and cover it on the next one. So until next time,